G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching this content. I do really appreciate it. Before we start, I will disclose that I am Australian and I do not support the All Blacks, and I'm definitely, not biased for the All Blacks, Just keep that in mind. So, this weekend marks the first week of the November International Test Series of 2025. It will be kicking off with the mighty All Blacks versus Japan in Tokyo. Oh man, this is I had a look at the lineup. I had read the news. I am a little bit concerned for the All Blacks this weekend because this could be the best chance that Japan has to beat the All Blacks in an upset for the first time ever. And so first up, let's look at some of the news. Everybody's already angry in New Zealand, as always. The dumpster fire, that is New Zealand Rugby, has made a scheduling conflict. So the Women's Rugby World Cup is obviously currently playing in New Zealand, run by New Zealand. And the quarterfinal game with the girls is clashing with the All Blacks game against Japan. So people are not happy because obviously not everyone has two TVs to watch both of the games. And this is not an ideal situation for New Zealand Rugby. And they basically came in and said they did not think that this could be a thing when they scheduled the test match between the All Blacks and Japan. They did not consider this at all when they scheduled that match. Even though they had the pools kind of potentially structured. But pretty poor form for the All Blacks, for New Zealand Rugby. As always, the management has been in a lot of trouble in recent times. I won't go into that too much because I've talked about it in my other videos. But it's not looking good. People are a little bit mad about this situation here. Secondly, more importantly, the All Blacks has lost 7 players just before this test match. And it's a really unfortunate series of events that has led to a lot of players pulling out for various reasons. So first up, the big names, the Barrett brothers. All 3 of them had to go home to attend the funeral for their grandmom. And and all 3 of them have returned to the squad, but they are too late. I think they will be returning today, maybe. But they will be too late to be eligible for selections. So that's 3 big names, 3 probably best players in the team for the All Blacks gone. Sam Whitelock and Will Jordan and Folau Fakatava are also left because of injury. So Sam Whitelock, obviously, what would you say? Probably like one of the most important set piece operators for the All Blacks next to Brodie Retallick. Will Jordan, again, the most dangerous man in the All Blacks backline. And Folau Fakatava, I thought he had the potential to be probably the next Aaron Smith. But he's probably going to be, most likely going to be a bench, so not too much of a loss for his part. And then finally, the 7th man that was just announced a few days ago is Faenga Anuku. The other winger has left the squad as well due to family reasons. So 7 people missing. The Bowden brothers, the Barrett brothers were probably the most biggest loss for the All Blacks. And Japan is gonna have a crack at the All Blacks team with a bit of a depleted squad. So the All Blacks and Japan, the history between the 2 teams, only ever played 4 times. And All Blacks has dominated Japan in every aspect. So with that being said, Japan has improved drastically since around 2016, 2015 or so. What's his name? Japan made it to the quarterfinals in the Rugby World Cup. And in recent times, so if we look at some of the recent results from Japan, Japan has played some really tough matches in recent times, and they've performed much better than most people was expecting, like much better than last year. In fact, last year they kind of just started playing international test rugby again. They were not really nearly as good as they were in the Rugby World Cup a few years before. Obviously, they had a break due to the pandemic. But this year, the Japan is really starting to look like they are preparing. They are slowly peaking towards that Rugby World Cup in the horizon. So if we have a quick look at the tests that Japan has played in recent times. So Japan has played France and Uruguay in the July test. Japan convincingly beating Uruguay, who is, qualified for the Rugby World Cup as well. And then obviously the big tests against France, the number one team in the world at the moment, and also the favorites to win the Rugby World Cup, the team that many think is going to just take the Rugby World Cup next year. So Japan has, in both games, were leading the French for the first test. I think just a little bit after half time, before France started, like maybe about 25 minutes late before France starting to pull away from Japan. And in the second test, much closer affair, and it was looking like Japan was gonna pull up an upset before France closed out the game in the last 10 minutes or so, finally pulled themselves ahead and won the test match. So it was really close, and the key here is that Japan has slowly learning and managing that gap between themselves and the top teams, and they're learning how to get themselves back into the game, which is really important when going into these test matches. It's not about how much tries you can score. It's about the defense. It's about eking out that little bit of advantage here and there, and try to manage the game a little bit better than your opposition to get that little bit of advantage in the test match. So also Japan played Australia just before this test series, actually, before a few weeks ago. They played Australia B team, so Japan B team played Australia B team, and again, Japan was convincingly kind of beaten in the first test, and then second test Japan was much closer, almost beating Australia B team, and then in the third test Japan actually beat the Australian B team quite convincingly, I must add. Australia had a flurry of try to come back towards the end, but wasn't able to do so. Quite comfortably beating Australian B team, scoring a lot of tries. Again, you showed that slow improvement of the team, the adaptation of their strategies, and the way they just operated has led to Japan just constantly getting better. So going into this test match, the All Blacks, on the other hand, had a bit of flurry of a good finish against Australia. They beat Australia 2-0. Obviously, the second test, which is the last test they play, was at Eden Park. A big home ground advantage for the All Blacks. Almost losing to Australia in Australia. The week before that in Melbourne, 37-39, just eking out a win. And then the big thing about the All Blacks this year is the inconsistency in their performances. So they lost to South Africa in one test and won the second test. They lost the first test against Argentina at home, which was a huge upset. Probably the biggest upset ever in rugby. One of the biggest upsets ever, because this was at home in New Zealand. Maybe Japan beating South Africa was bigger, but this is gonna be up there in one of the biggest upsets of all times. So the consistency for the All Blacks has not been there, and obviously the July international test series, they did not go very well. 3 home games against Ireland, losing the test series. Referees controversies aside, Ireland did come out and play much better than the All Blacks, especially in that third test. That second test was closer for the All Blacks, but in that third test, Ireland convincingly beat the All Blacks in that one. So this was not a good series for the All Blacks fans, and this is big warning signs on the wall for the All Blacks. So with that being said, the current selection. Just before we go into the selections, so this game obviously going to be in Tokyo. It's going to be Saturday night. Dry, maybe a bit humid, maybe a bit hot, 21 degrees, hot and humid conditions. May not perform well for the All Blacks, because the All Blacks don't seem to play that well under hot, humid conditions. It's not something the All Blacks typically play in. So just before we go into the selections here, just the key point with the selections for the All Blacks, they have made big changes throughout the team. Not just because of the, obviously players missing due to injuries and family issues, but also I think Foster just wanted to put some new players out there to give him a shot. And it does look like the All Blacks almost taking Japan as a win for over Japan as for granted. So that is a little bit concerning for my part. And I do think that the fact that most of the players for the All Blacks team on the field haven't played in a starting spot. They haven't played in a starting spot at all. Since this year. So a lot of the players are literally haven't really played at all for the All Blacks, especially in the starting team. So I'm a little bit concerned. And Japan, on the other hand, has really polished up their team. Really, had a lot of trial and trial and errors going into this match. So I feel like Japan is a little bit better prepared than the All Blacks, especially in terms of as a team. The Japanese players currently just has a bit more experience than working together than the All Blacks at the moment, just based on some of the selections. So yeah, let's go into selections and you will see what I'm talking about. So first up, the All Blacks, George Bauer gets caught in the number 1 position. I was actually a little bit baffled here. So obviously they want to put the bench, the players that don't get much time, some more time. But Ethan de Groot hasn't had that much time this year, and he's been performing really well for the All Blacks. I thought this would be a great opportunity for him to further extend his skill set. And instead, they just completely dropped him from the squad, from the lineup. I'm a little bit. I don't really think that's a smart thing. I think maybe he should be at least on the bench. It's not like he still has, it's not like he's a guaranteed number 1 for the All Blacks. And his work is done. He still needs to be. He still only had very few games for the All Blacks since returning. So I really feel like he should have been selected, even on the bench. So he's not selected. And Dan Cole's come off the bench to the starting spot. Nipo Laulala, again, he hasn't really played much for the All Blacks at all since July. I think he may have had 1 game against Australia off the bench in the second test, maybe. But he really didn't have much time in the Rugby Championship. Nipo Laulala. Japan, Kaita Inagaki comes in number 1. Atsushi Sakate number 2. And Ji Wo-ku, the Korean tight head prop, comes in once again for Japan at number 3. So the Japan's front rowers is pretty. This has been a pretty steady front rower selection for Japan for quite a bit. So just the fact that in terms of how often these players work together, I actually feel like the Japanese front rowers in the current setup has more time on the field as a pack than the All Blacks 3, the starting props. Despite the All Blacks starting props have more experience overall, but them playing each other, especially recently, has been very lacking. So I don't know how that's going to go for the All Blacks in the scrums. We'll have to wait and see. So once again, the Japan scrummaging against the big French 4-pack, and they did not have too much of an issue there. So I really don't. Yeah, it'll really surprise me if this current setup of All Blacks front rowers put up a big issue against will give too much issue for the Japanese front rowers in the scrummaging. I don't see that as an issue for Japan. So yeah, so we shall see how that goes. If this was Ethan de Groot and Terrell Lomax and Somasani Takiaho, I do think that this New Zealand scrum might give the Japan some issue, but the current setup, I just don't know how good that's going to be. Warren Durns comes in number 4 for Japan. Jack Cornelson, number 5 squad position. He has done quite well for Japan in the the B team for Japan in recent times, so he gets the number 5 jersey. Brody Retallick goes into number 4, and due to Sam Whitelock injured, Tupu Va'ai gets the number 5 jersey. I think this is his first start for the All Blacks for the year. Michael Lynch, the captain, comes in. Actually, is he still the captain? I think he's the captain today because the other guy's not on the field. But anyway, Michael Lynch, the veteran, comes on the field, 34 years of age. Shannon Fritzell comes in number 6 in the blindside flanker position. Shannon Frizzell has actually done really well for the All Blacks since calling up into number 6 jersey. Himeno-san, Kazuki Himeno, moves into number 7. He normally plays, he played number 8 in New Zealand a couple years ago. Played number 8 for Japan, I think last year. So he's been shuffled around a bit to number 7 jersey. Maybe he's picked up a little bit of a speed. Obviously that experience factor comes into play as well, especially against the All Blacks trying to put some pressure at that breakdown. He is extremely good at the breakdown, by the way. So Himeno-san will be disrupting that breakdown. And on the opposite side of him, Sam Kang, a guy who has been under a lot of pressure for the All Blacks as the captain. A lot of people wanted him to be dropped. I do think that's the calling for Sam Kang to be dropped is a little bit over the top. I didn't think he was particularly that bad. And again, he has been injured, and then he returned. His season for the Chiefs was pretty quiet. So he hasn't really. He is slowly working himself back into the form. So that is for sure. Number 8 for Japan, Tavita Tatafu comes in for the number 8 position. Addis Avia is a home, I think, with family duties also. So Hoskins Sotutu, maybe it's not home. I think it's at home. But anyway, I know something's happening with him. So Hoskins Sotutu comes in at number 8 for the All Blacks. But Hoskins Sotutu has played quite well in the absence of Addis Avia in the Blurs for the Cup. So I'm not really too worried about his performance at number 8 there. At number 9, Yutaka Nagare comes in once again for Japan at number 9 position. Finlay Christie for the All Blacks, number 9. He has been coming off the bench for the All Blacks for a few games, so it's good to see him kind of just shuffled up a bit with Aaron Smith on the bench. I do think Finlay Christie is a little bit one-dimensional, the way he plays, but yeah, that's my criticism. But then again, the All Blacks with Richie Mo'unga at 10 don't really need a fancy number 9, but that's just my thoughts. Number 10, Takuya Yamasawa comes in for number 10 position. And I am not too familiar with this guy, but we shall see how he goes. Tamura, the number 10 that has played really well for Japan. He is not selected for the number 10. I don't think he's injured, but I had a look at his stats. His stats is a little bit lacking this year so far. So maybe that's why he's not selected at number 10. But yeah, he did play. I think he did play. He did play in July, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what his status is at the moment. Richie Mo'unga comes in number 10 for the All Blacks. After losing to Argentina at home, he really just, found himself a much better form against the Wallabies. So we shall see if that's just, we shall see the consistency will be there again this weekend, especially in that humid, hot weather in Japan. Whether that's going to play a factor or not, we'll have to see. The ball might be a bit greasy. So at number 11, Siosai Fafita comes in for the Japan at number 11. Caleb Clark comes back for the All Blacks at number 11. I'm sure he played more than 5 test caps. But this is according to allblacks.com, so maybe that's wrong. So I should, that looks a little bit wrong to me. I'm pretty sure Caleb played more than 5 tests for the All Blacks. But yeah, we'll fix that another time. Next time we'll see this. I'll check that next time. So Ryoto Nakamura, number 12 for Japan, who's really, really good, an excitement machine out of the center field position. And he's actually going to, I think, give Roger Tuivasa-Sheck a bit of a trouble here. Last year, remembering playing against the Wallabies, he scored an intercept try from Quade Cooper's pass. So Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, if he's not in the right position, Nakamura could potentially take another intercept here at some point. So yeah, Richie Mo'unga, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck never play with each other. And also Roger Tuivasa-Sheck obviously switching from rugby league to rugby union. Still got a lot to learn in that defensive lineup. So yeah, this could be, we'll have to see how this goes. He has been playing in the NRC as well. So he's not he hasn't been in the squad for the entire duration of the rugby championship as well. He was playing in the NRC in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll have to see how he actually performs this weekend. But this is very exciting for me anyway. He is a prospect that everybody wanted to see in the starting number 12 jersey. But I do have a little bit concern with him not being with Bowden. If he was with Bowden, I'll be much more comfortable with him in the starting jersey number 12. But with Richie Mo'unga, yeah, just not sure. We have seen like Bowden Barrett playing with David Havili, not really clicking. So obviously David Havili is the Crusaders number 12 that normally plays with Richie Mo'unga. So when Havili plays with Richie Mo'unga, the combination looks really much better for the All Blacks. So I don't know if that's going to also happen with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Richie Mo'unga because they haven't played with each other. Maybe there will be a little bit clash there. We just don't know. No one knows what's going to happen. We have to wait and see. But Nakamura is quite a player, so it's not going to be an easy day for Tuivasa-Sheck out there on the weekend. Dylan Riley, another guy who's been just constantly improving for Japan as well, earns that starting position. Number 13 jersey. He's like a professional export from Australia. He went to the Southpaw School, which as an import. So now he's being exported to Japan as a professional export. So really good for him. Number 13. He's up against Brendan Inor, who's had a little bit of time with the All Blacks as well. Like I think he played off the bench against Ireland. I don't even know. I don't think he was even in the squad for the Rugby Championship. Maybe he was caught in late. I think he was caught in late maybe due to an injury. But he wasn't even in the squad to begin with, at least for the Rugby Championship. So he really haven't had that much time with the All Blacks at all. So yeah, how that's going to go, especially how that's going to go against Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at inside centre, nobody knows. Honestly, nobody knows how this is going to go. I am a little bit concerned. I thought for sure they're going to put Riku at 13. Just because Riku and Roger had played with each other for the entire duration of Rugby Championship. So I don't know how this is going to go. You let me know your thoughts. And I would just have to pray to the beard of John Alomu that this works out, right? Yeah, I don't know what else to say. At number 14, I think this is probably the most dangerous man on the field. Kotaro Matsushima, the number 14. Apparently he's South African descendant, a background. So he is the most dangerous guy for Japan and probably the most dangerous guy on the field, like I was saying. His footwork is exceptional, his speed. He has that ability almost of like Cheslin Kobe, where he can create opportunities. My light just went out. There we go. Where he can create opportunities out of nothing. So he's just with his footwork and athleticism. So we shall see how that goes on the field. But he is up against Several Reese, who is also a speedster with a lot of footwork and agility. So these two will match up quite well. But I do feel like Matsushima is a little bit more dangerous than Several Reese. Let me know your thoughts. This could be a close matchup here. And a fullback position, Ryohei Yamanaka comes in for Japan at number 15. And again, I really wanted to see this against Ireland or maybe even against the Wallabies. Steven Perofeta comes in number 15. Again, I really thought they would have put Steven Perofeta with Bowden. Obviously, Bowden is not available, but I really felt like if they're ever going to start him, they should start him with Bowden. Just the combination between him and Bowden with the Blues in Super Rugby was just absolute sublime to watch. And for some reason, they put him with Richie Mo'unga. We shall see how that goes. I do think that Perofeta and Richie Mo'unga might clash in style again because they both, kind of have a very similar style out of the 10 position because Perofeta also plays 10 as well out of 10. So I don't know how that's going to go. Again, nobody knows how this is going to go, but I am super excited to see Perofeta finally getting more than, a minute, 50 seconds on the field and for the All Blacks, and we shall see some good magic out of him this weekend. Obviously, he's a teammate with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, so those two guys are going to work quite well. So the way that he likes to play is he really likes to slot himself in as an additional attacking option, almost like an additional center. So it will be really beautiful. And sometimes it's a second 5'8" as well. So it'll be really beautiful to see if they're going to do that with him in the All Black. That's what he does in the Blues. He slots in as a 10. He slots in as a winger. and he slots in as a center. When a team is whenever there's space, he will slot himself in and create a lot of trouble for the opposition teams. Very excited for that. So on the bench, let's quickly go through this. Takeshi Hino comes in number 16 for Japan. Craig Miller comes in number 17. Shuhei Takeuchi comes in number 18 for Japan. Again, Somasani Takiyaho on the bench. Ofa Tuangafasi had a bit of injury after the Ireland Test series, so he has been kind of slowly getting back into Test rugby as well. Terrell Lomax is the best tight head prop for All Blacks at the moment. He's on the bench. I really thought they would have given more time for what's his name? Ethan De Groot at number 17 jersey, and maybe just started Tuangafasi at number 1. But yeah, I mean, anyway, Tuangafasi has been really, really good for the All Blacks. For the Blues in Super Rugby, but he really hasn't translated that so far in Test Rugby yet. So we shall see if he's going to be able to do that this weekend against Japan. Number 19, Kanji Shimokawa for Japan. Patrick Tuipulotu comes in number 19 for the All Blacks. Again, only had a limited time coming off the bench for like 1 or 2 tests for the All Blacks. Faulua Makisi for Japan comes in number 20. Dalton Papali'i comes 20 for the All Blacks. Naoto Saito comes in Japan for number 21. Aaron Smith, the veterans, on the bench at 21 as a finisher. Shingi Shin Lee comes in at number 22 for Japan. David Havili, the inside center for the Crusaders, comes in number 22. Gerard van der Heever comes in number 23 for Japan. And Anton Leonard Brown finally returns from injury for the All Blacks at number 23. So the All Blacks has 2 centers on the reserve. Havili and Anton Leonard Brown, so inside and outside centers. So yeah, I guess they have to shuffle people around if someone gets injured. They're just going to keep the wingers on for the entire duration. And I guess Stephen Perofeta will cover every position on the field should he needs. So they could potentially move like, Richie Mwanga. Yeah, if Richie Mwanga gets hurt, they could potentially move Perofeta to 10. So yeah, not too much of an issue. I think Brandon Ennor can play 15. But yeah, not too much of an issue with 2 centers on the bench. Predictions. I really don't want to call this one. I do think the All Blacks on paper have what it takes, but I do think that there could be a close one for Japan. I'm gonna hope for Japan to pull up an upset because that'll just be more entertaining for me. But I think the All Blacks will win this one by 7, not too much, by 7. So 24 points to 17. Yeah. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate you watching this video. And I'll see you guys this weekend for the reviews. And have a good one. Cheers.